things from a spiritual standpoint as well as from a scientific standpoint. They're one and the same for us as Africans. We see things as holistic, so therefore I always add a spiritual component to a lot of my writings, a lot of my meditations do come from spiritual perspective. So it might come from any particular scripture of our ancestors, whether it be the Bible, Quran, Torah, Peru, Yoruba, ancient Zulu, Hindu. It might come from any of our ancient ancestral lines and roots. But the wisdom and the blessing and the prophecy, the revelation, still remains the same. And the revelation corresponds to what we're going through right now. Let me say that again. The wisdom and the revelation correlates to what's happening now. So, when I was doing some meditation, I was doing meditation last night. I did meditation walk the door. And we were sitting down, and even during the week as I'm working, and I'm meditating while working. What I come to find is that African people, indigenous people, Moors, African people, etc., have the keys to many of the social ills that we go through. We have not only the keys, but the defense and tools to build and create what is necessary for our survival and upliftment. But one of the things that I tried to hone in on is the importance of revelation. I'm sorry, y'all know it's cool that I move back. I don't want people say I get dizzy, you move back and forth all the time. I just try to always get a good view of it. And dealing with social empowerment as for people overall, one of the things that we never really look into is revelation. You hear a lot of people talk about revolution, talk about change. We hear people talk about evolution. But the one thing that's never spoken about, or that's sometimes not amplified enough, peace brothers, good to see you. That's not amplified enough for us is revelation. And the reason why I mention revelation is because revelation, the aha moment, the message that is burning and moving inside is the real spark behind everything done. And without that spark, without that internal love, that internal joy for what we do and for our lives and for our everyday activities, revolution, social change, all of that, you can throw it out the window. If we don't have a joy for change, if we don't see wealth, because a lot of our people, I'm sorry to say, some people, or a great number of people, their motivation is the idea of wealth. I say idea because everybody got different ideas of what wealth is. But this, the fact of gain, should I say, gain inspires people. But one of the things that we have been locked into is believing that monetary gain is the main gain. And that mentality, or should I say, that entrainment that we've been through is actually locking the doors on wealth. Excuse us, it's the environment. Okay, so again, unlocking the doorways of wealth and empowerment is this is the particular focus for the class. And we're going to go over sustainable economics or sustainable economic models. We've gone over this before, but I think it's time that we go over it again. Okay? Unlocking the doorways of wealth and empowerment. Okay, and we're looking into some of the scriptures. Is that all right? Yeah. I'm asking permission now. No inquisition? Yeah. Come on, Moors now. All the Moor signs that everybody like to talk. No inquisition. Yeah, we free here. Thank you. Lord. Yes.
Any extra paper?
You forgot your book?
I tried to go outside. They don't got nothing open.
Oh wow! All right, I got my notebook. You can use mine. No problem. unlocking the doorways of wealth and empowerment. Now, again, this is going through not just, I'm not trying to be an economist. I am not an economist. I am not the get rich quick man. I am not teaching that. I don't put any labels on this. This is all revelation. Revelation. If it ain't revelation, I don't know nothing about it. Okay? Revelation, then revolution. Not revolution, then revelation. Most times we get it really twisted. And that's why we've been making some bad decisions. That is the first place of power that you begin from. Self. Individual and collective self. And there's the self. When we talk about the self, the innermost part of our being, the self has what? Its own being and all that it's what? A part of. All that it's a part of, because we cannot even comprehend the idea of self without what? Other. That lets you know that everything that you are and everything that is connected to you is one thing. That's why they call it a universe. And of course you would say, how is this the first step to wealth? Well, from the standpoint that we're learning right now, and the way that we are being programmed, our ideas of wealth or our ideas of richness, power, gain, all our ideas of gain and power comes from an external force, from an external place. And if a person begins their concept of empowerment from an external place, when the external power is gone, or the external structure that maintains your existence is gone, you leave with it. That's the first most essential thing that you have to know.
Repeat that.
If our idea of what we're talking about, unlocking the doorways of wealth, first thing we're going to recognize is self. Personal and collective self. That's the first thing we need to think about. And that includes the environment where we live, the natural organic environment, the natural organic self, the real person. If your concept of wealth, if your concept or your idea of gain, that means to get more, if it comes from or is concentrated from the idea that it comes from an outside source, then when the outside source is gone, that you have attached your spirit to, when that's gone, you're leaving with it. That is the first step. And that's why, when you came in, you wrote down the scriptures. I had scriptures under here. Now this is where I'll go into Luke 17, 20, 21. For the kingdom of Yah is within. That's why I bring. See, I'll use these scriptures like Nat Turner, so please comprehend where I'm coming from with it. I am not telling anybody to go join anything. These are scripts. These are symbols and keys. That's all they are. Once they're done, they're done. We at the end of the book anyway. So, Luke 17, 20, and 21. I'm going to read it. This changes the whole format. This is what I meant when I said revelation, then revolution. You can come around, Elder. Excuse me, God. Go ahead around. Yes. Luke 17, 20, 21. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees, the judges, the lawyers, the lawgivers, when the kingdom of Yah, God, should come, he answered them and said, the kingdom of Yah cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of the Creator is within you. The life you want to live, the world you want to live in, the environment that you want, all of the things that we visualize or the things that we are moving after, they start with our own personal visions, ideas, and practices. It has nothing to do with anybody else on the planet but you. That's the first step to wealth, recognizing your own personal worth, recognizing your own personal power, and nature gives that power to you. I think it's in the book of I think it's in the book of Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, verse 12. Each one of us have been made a minister on this planet already from birth. Every last person. And it's identifying that power, that ministry that nature gave you already. Let me say this again. This is far from what I know many they're not trying to teach this, because that would means that you're no longer dependent on people. That now you're actually helping people to see their own strength. So now you're creating power. We're creating power, creating strength. Recognizing your own personal power, supreme eternal life force. So many times in the African community, Moorish community, Nubian, all the names, hey, they all us, hello, right? You hear a statement that black people need to create more wealth. Black people need to create more wealth. Black people need to create more wealth. The problem is this. African people are not embracing their identity. We're starting to. There's a reassurance, there's a reoccurrence happening. You can feel it, you see it, you're a part of it. Right? But overall, when we talk about the races, and remember, the words, they tell you, we always say, look at the meaning of words, the origins of words. When you look at the race, meaning competition, the reason why we're ahead and behind at the same time is for only one reason. We are at conflict with self. What I can do with a little bit more money. Lord, I can do with a little bit more money. Lord, I can do with a little bit more. What would you do with a little bit more money? Spend it, right, see? And spend it where? Doing what? When you come to find out that the whole entire structure and system, 80% of it is all based on waste. Where would you like to begin? Nobody else, everybody else, you talk about the races, nationalities, they all manufacture their own. When it comes to the medicines, though they may use allopathic medicine in hospitals, they have their own cultural and their own form of medicine and treatment for their people. Because everyone's health connects to their genetic and their ancestry. So they got their own system, the way they're going to treat each other. And that's nothing to do with hating anybody or being against anybody. That's just reality. But when you don't have a concept of self and culture, when you do gain, okay, so you gain wealth on the outside world's economy. When you gain it, you give it to someone else because you don't have your own self-worth. And you don't create from your own energy system. So therefore, your synergy is always being pulled by another person, or you're actually utilizing somebody else's culture as a band-aid for your own. So we never own ourselves. You see? Another statement we make, at the tip of the tongue lives life and death. I'm broke. I caught myself saying it. Years ago, I sat down in a meditation and said, I'm going to stop saying I'm broke. Because that has so many deeper implications when we say we're broke. And recognizing one's personal power. I'll give you an example. Tell me one time in America's history that America, the institution, created wealth organically. You can't find one, can you? And then every time you find a situation where the institution of America grows economically powerful, who's sitting there?
Corn.
Huh? Corn. Okay, brother. Thank you for opening up the gate. You unlocked it. There is no such thing as corn. Corn is a hybrid. Corn is a hybrid plant. Your Native American ancestors used to grow what, Sister Shirley?
Was it corn? Cotton.
Say it, come somebody knows this.
Cotton.
Not cotton, definitely not that.
What?
Maize, thank you, sister.
Oh, cotton. Cotton is a good example.
Cotton comes from Africa and India. Cotton comes from the East. Oh, there it is again. So, and there's one more too. Maize, but maize already was grown in this part of the planet. But even the concept of growing food in the first place starts with you too. But let's just go with maize for a minute. Maize is Native American. Maize is indigenous to this land. Rice is not indigenous to the Americas. Yep. Cotton is not indigenous to the Americas. Now, every time this institution has been in a rut, economically, socially, or politically, and spiritually, I might as well go the whole gamut. It is the spirit of black people that gets America out of its rut. But question, why doesn't African creativity, black creativity, black intelligence, Moorish intelligence, right, bring itself out of its own rut? We can even help everybody else out. World War I, black man was what? Right there on the battlefield. World War II, right there on the battlefield. When America is about to go hungry, and its own food supply starts to dry up, and it can't reproduce food anymore from its own land, like right now. Because America also is losing topsoil every year. Did you know that? America is losing topsoil, thousands and thousands of tons of topsoil every year. But it's always African creativity that brings America out of her final throw at death. Every time. The only people who have not benefited from African creativity in the Americas or internationally is Africans, Moors themselves. Ultimately. And that's why I'm saying start with your own personal power, from your own supreme, eternal life force. Recognize. Is any question you had a comment, brother?
No, I'm trying to think of something.
Yeah. Hard to think of it, ain't it?
I'll find something if I don't think hard enough.
Yeah. And when you find it, we won't be on this planet no more, brother. We can be transported out of here because there would be nothing to find. It's a degree back in the day. I remember we waited and searched for 66 trillion years to find a mystery God and could not find a mystery God. So the original man stopped searching for a mystery God and come to the realization that the God that he's searching for is himself. So we can look through all of the institution of America and keep looking and keep looking and keep looking. You're not going to find it because America is an idea. America is not a place. All right? So, among sustainable economics, this is the spiritual component. See how I'm going back and forth. This is the spiritual component. Social component. We call that human capital.
Hey, right.
See?
You shut down.
If you just go ahead and get back into your natural power, all things will be added onto you. See, they count on people not recognizing their own personal strengths. That's what keeps poverty going. Which then takes us back to what I mentioned about earlier with the brutalities and this happening and that happening and this war. All those things are diversions. Because they know on a spiritual, what we call astronomical plane, what we call astrological plane, they know that your DNA is starting to reawaken. And it's sparking, and there's certain questions you're starting to ask because this ain't adding up no more. So since it's not adding up, they say, well, okay, we got sufficient answers, but these answers may make us look a little silly. So rather than give you the answers and really say, make some apologies and make some transitions and some changes in the society for the people, which would be more natural and beneficial, I'd rather just cause a war. I'd rather just keep causing controversy. I'd rather have people just keep fighting each other on the streets for money that don't exist. Okay.
A lot of money for them through CNN. Because now CNN people will watch and then they'll get advertising and then they'll generate millions and millions of dollars. Then they can practice martial law because the The military practices all the time, but they don't ever get a chance to practice on real people.
Okay. Thank you. You just opened up a doorway I needed, and it goes along with this first part, the recognition of self. When you're watching television, you are watching projections. You know, I do this in every class, but I think this is one of them old motor skills we do with the children. Everybody take your hand like this. And everybody take this one hand right here. And you can take your eye and go like this. And that's all the hell that's going on. You are in tune to somebody else's projections. The word projection has an internal meaning. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not moving too much. They got me on camera, he got me, all right. Projections. I'll say it again, projections. A projection is something that comes from the subconscious mind or emotions and feelings of another person, placed in a venue, whether it's from film, whether it's through a play, whether it's through a song for that matter. It's still a projection. And when we sit down and we watch these projections and become drunk with these projections, we begin to internalize them. Then the internalization of another person's projection begins to actually influence our reality. So now we have just lost what? Power. Because somebody else's intelligence, concept, construct, thought patterns, belief systems are now inhabiting your sphere of influence. Turn the movies off. And if you're going to watch television, you have to dissect what you're looking at. Another thing, you say, well, why are the movies so attractive? You ready for this one? When they make movies, movies have themes which are already tuned to people's ideas and subconscious constructs. In other words, some of these movies are based on other people's. They sat down, literally, in psych wards. You don't think people do this? They call it Hollywood. They'll sit down with writers, people who study metaphysics, people who study philosophy, people who study human behavior are behind the making of movies. Lucy? Yes, right. That's why you have some actors which are what are they? They're character actors.
Morgan Freeman.
And in every movie they show up in, they play the same what?
Role.
They play the same character. Because what they're doing is they're trying to give you information or data through a projection. Most likely information or data you should have had before you even watched the movie. And that's where you go with the engrams, placing thoughts in people's minds. So now I got your mind, I got your ideas. I create the characters for you. I even create the characters you pattern yourself after. I create your concept of what a hero is. I create your concept of what being rich is. So where you gonna go? So we gotta clean out the temple. Go back, sit still, let all that go. Recognize yourself. Recognize your own personal power, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. If it's making Easter egg baskets, I don't know. You might not have to believe it. But if it's making baskets, make baskets. If it's helping other young people learn how to do it, then show them. Whatever it may be for you. Whatever that creative knack is, use it. Spend less time on the outside world. More time building and creating it. And when you do interact to gain what you need to get, but do more investment of self. Right? Questions or comments? I know it's 1,000 comments. Yes, I know. I do. Yes, ma'am.
So you have to have the equivalent of a doctorate to do camera work in Hollywood, because there are angles, aspects. The whole thing of cinematography is a master science to affect your mind psychologically.
That's right. Now, let's give it the exact word, because I'm an art student too, partially. We call that perception. Perception and angles. When you do film, right? And did y'all hear what she said? Yeah. It said to be a cameraman, you have to have a what?
The equivalent of a doctorate degree in cinematography.
You have to have the equivalent of a doctorate degree to do cinematography. And point taken, because when you deal with film or art, and I know Elder Wanderingfeather, as an artist, as a craftsman all the way around, he will tell you when they draw pictures from angles, and angles deal with perception. So when they're doing film, they're learning how to capture all the different angles of perception for the viewer to see, which makes the film more attractive, which makes you feel like you're sitting in the film yourself.
That's why sometimes some scenes you'll see the same action being repeated, close up, far away, from the right, from the left. They're doing that because they know the more angles you see, the more it's going to affect you.
Right. And now here's another one. Movies move at the same rate, or are actually recorded at a similar speed of frames as the mind does when it dreams. Rapid eye movement and cinematography, as far as moving films, they found that there was a deep similarity between the two. That's why some of your dreams look like what? Get their films out of your head. Start having your own films. You said it earlier. Images. Images. Do you realize the image of Ferguson has been played over and over again for 40 years? People who have never seen these images before and never lived it before are seeing these images. Because the news and the movies becoming the what? The same thing. When people come to find out they've been programmed to exist inside of a projection and to act out a projection is really going to mess them up. We already figuring it out. What's different between the movies and what you watch on the news? Nothing. City all shut down with military on all four sides, movies. Military on all four sides, the news. It's the same exact thing. They're playing out a projection.
I was always taught that they play it out in the movies first, and then they make it happen in real life. You're already programmed in the mind that it happened in the movie, so you don't even fight against it because you done already accepted it through the movie.
And that comes from the training.
Like with the Ebola in Atlanta, if you watch The Walking Dead, it's pretty much the same thing, so you don't even question it because they do The Walking Dead in Atlanta. It's the same thing.
Right on, bro. Write this movie down. You ready? President Bush is the president. Then a new president is elected. Before the new president takes office, the country is hit by an actual virus. 1972, President Bush. There's a president of the United States of America named Bush, and the country is hit with anthrax. Dark Winter. It's a real movie.
Name of the movie, The Dark Winter?
Dark Winter. 1970 is a movie that came out in the 70s. So in other words, they projected it before it what?
Half-hand reality.
Who controls the entertainment industry?
Jews.
That's true. But even deeper, that's not the answer I wanted, but that's cool, because they do.
Government.
Not all of them, but you know, that's what goes on. CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. FBI, right? FCC. It's all still connected. Entertainment, warfare, right? Entertainment, warfare, and production, or industry. They're all three. It's one body with these three particular aspects. So when you're watching the movie, you're already getting prepared to buy. Because everything they put in the movie, they put the same product, what? They put the same product on the shelf that was in the movie. The other one, the easiest way to see this, go back to when we were children. For all of us born in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, as soon as they came out with the cartoon, what came next? The toy. As soon as they came up with the cartoon, then came the toy. But then you got to think what was before the cartoon. And what's the nature of the cartoon? And why do they want children to play with this particular object? You get it? It's programming very early. We have been desensitized to accept things that we normally wouldn't do. And things we normally would not accept. It's mind control. So the first point of power is to take back the what? The mind. Take back yourself. That's sovereignty. Everybody jump around. I'm going to get my paperwork. I'm going to be sovereign. I'm going to be sovereign. I'm going to be sovereign. I didn't hear they use that word. They throw that word around a whole lot. Self-ownership, right? We throw that word around That whole terminology and the science, we throw it around too much. Because to really be sovereign is to really tell yourself the truth and create on your what? Own. That's sovereignty. Not just, well, I claim something, I got a piece of paper, and I'm going to go up in this court, and I'm going to prove my... and I'm going to prove myself to you. See, the camera's on. I respect nature, and I respect the law. When you claim your identity, when you claim your true being, your true power, you've already declared sovereignty. Remember, you are organic people, you're organic living people. You existed before anything that can be written. And now in America, the world is in a position when it's going to take our creativity to make this place and anything on the earth operate at its highest potential. There's no paperwork to exchange for that. You want to work legally? Work legally. Because that's what paperwork is. Working legally by legislation. That's why it's always on what? Paper. But there is a law above that law. And that is organic law. That's natural law. And they have people moving away from their natural self. And as soon as you move from your natural self, you already have X'd yourself out of creation. So go to that place. Now, to prove my point, we sell the poster. Don't tell me we don't have wealth. I can't think of one thing in this particular constructed urban existence that doesn't have an African indigenous fingerprint on it. Please find one. Every time you sit with a bowl of cereal, you're still dealing with somebody that look like you. Every time you touch a blade of grass and you want to grow some food, you're still dealing with something that came from you. So where is the poverty coming from?
Mentality.
And that's it. And theft. But see, the theft comes from not knowing who is who and what's what. Point to one thing that's not invented by an African hand. This is the Black Inventors Poster. It's amazing. This is amazing. This is mind-boggling because Hollywood seems not to get this story. I don't see how this story never makes it out. How many people caught the bus here today? Raise your hand. Couldn't catch the bus without African intelligence and the technology. How many people caught the train? Without the third rail, there is no train going. How many people love touching their cell phone every 5 minutes, like the brother right here? Right on the chart. So now African intelligence, African power, indigenous power has to begin to gear itself to helping its children. First step to empowerment, seeing one's limited potential. Yes, sir.
The problem is we have to go to them to get the money to start anything.
There it is.
We have to beg them
Black people
to accept our ideas.
in 2015 though, black people, we already are 1/3 of the U.S. buying power, $1.1 trillion. So
They missed it.
that's one. Two, people of color make up 56% of the social media users in the nation. So we dominate media, we dominate buying power. It's just like, what media are we consuming and what are we buying? Like I think we're beyond the point of asking for permission. I feel like we have everything we need. We just need the coalition bill.
You know, it's really not a wrong or right. I think it's a matter, once again, of perception. We got to go to the where?
To the bank.
Okay. Where did the bank start?
It started with us, but
Work.
No buts.
Work.
Don't put a but. See, if it's about you, I don't mean to say this like this, but if it's about you, then it's what? It's about you. There is no more but. See, we put the but in there because, again, it's the fear ingrained. Not just you. For all, I do it too. We all do it at times. You're not alone. But letting go of that. Because here again, I just pulled out a poster. I can give you 18 million stories of black men and women, indigenous men and women, who had nothing, traveling from down south in somebody's back seat, or maybe even on some man's wagon, and had to live inside of a nunnery, a convent. Can you imagine? How many of y'all like going to the refrigerator every day? Raise your hand. You like going to the refrigerator, getting your beer, your wine, your food, whatever you like to drink? Yeah, you love that. But the man who invented the refrigerator had to live in a convent. And had to stay there for months and day in and day out till he found himself a place to stay and a job for himself. He created the first amplification for theaters and the first refrigerator. And the man only had one bag on his back. And he lived in a much more racist society at that particular point than it is now. Where is this coming from? I know where it's coming from. It's coming from the fact that the way we view nature and environment, the way we view economy even, is based on consumer consciousness. Let me put it that way. It's not a producer's consciousness. We have gotten trapped into a consumer consciousness. The bank said so. How can the bank say so? Is the bank inside of your skin? No, hear me out, brother. Just hear me out. Is the bank inside of your skin? See nobody else, see how they did us? We waiting on them for you know, you gonna give you the money. But what they don't realize is that you gave them the money. You are the money. Black people are the wealth. That's why when you study the annals of time and history or our heritage, what do they refer to us as on the west coast of Africa?
Gold.
What kind of gold?
Black gold.
Call it how you call it. Say it how you say it. Black gold. You are the bank. You gotta keep saying it to yourself and know it and see it. Give you an example. Black and Nobel. And I done known my brother for years, right? Started with one stand. Started with a stand. Right? Hey, Brother Tice, am I right about that?
But the European can still benefit from this.
That's not, you know that. We know this because we still dealing with dollars and cents. That's cool, you're right. My point is though, is that if we were to depend on the idea of the bank, then it wouldn't exist. If I was to wait for the bank, you think I'm gonna wait for the bank to teach my children about solar energy, Sister Carol? Am I gonna wait on European institutions to tell me when I can start teaching and when I can build and create and do what I have to do? No, that's our issue. It's asking for permission.
Keep on to him.
Well, you ask, you don't ask nobody for what you want to do.
Come on, brother.
I'm sorry, I gotta be this way because we have been and you're not alone, brother. I've been done. We all have had the same thing done to us on that level. That entrainment that says we can't do anything outside of the structured pattern. That is a training. That's not true. Because once upon a time, it did not exist. And it's falling apart. What are you going to say, brother?
I feel like because I've had this conversation with quite a few folks about like the economic liberation of communities of poverty that are heavily populated with black folks. And I feel like when we reestablish a communal sense of unity, and like I know between like all of my brothers, every Sunday we go out, we put money together so that we can eat together. You know what I'm saying? So once we start to circulate dollars within ourselves, it will multiply, and then we can create our own economic institutions, our own community development corporations, CDFIs, credit unions. But like that's when we get some dollar circulation amongst ourselves.
Okay, that's right on it. How about this one? Go deeper. Go deeper. Did the dollar always exist?
Not at all.
And is the dollar going to go out of existence?
Absolutely. Real simple.
So if the dollar did not exist, would you still generate power with your brothers?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you. That sounded uncertain.
we would.
If the dollar fell today, would you still unite with your family members to create what you need?
We had to.
Yeah.
See, that's the real question. That's the real question. Where is your spirit? Where's your soul at? That's why I said revelation, then what? Congress is about to pass the bill. What bill? I'm about to die. I'm on a stretcher. I need recitation, quick. If somebody gets hurt from here right now and I got to do CPR, I don't got no choice. I can't wait for the ambulance to come. Check KO, and I got some trained people in here. I know that brother back there is a trained life check. So if something happened in here and we got to move, we're not going to wait just for the ambulance to come. We may have to put pressure on the wound ourselves. And I might have to get a razor blade and take it out myself if I have to. That's where we got to go. We got to get back to that natural thinking. This has nothing to do about being against anything or anybody. Please, I don't want the people who watch this in YouTube land to say, oh, the brother, he just against the whole world. He don't care. No. Let's get back to our natural, organic self. You want to make it? There's somebody next to you somewhere that can make it. If you got the idea on a certain level and you don't have the rest of the technological knowledge to make it happen, that's okay. You are the one who was supposed to get the vision. There's somebody else out there connected to you that can help that vision to what? Manifest. And that's the blessing of it. We don't answer to the bank. Who? The bank supposed to answer to who? Us. See how backwards it done got on in the society? But most of the time, since we're all compulsory, everything is compulsive. And that's not just you, it's all of us. We all work somewhere, we all do something to get money. And we get a check, and we'll wait, and if that person don't got that check, boy, we be sitting there like, you know what, I got bills to pay, I got bills to pay, I got bills. And the reason why I'm doing this, getting us back to the concept of human capital first, because that can take away from that stress. It can take away from that stress. When something external has that much power on people, that's dangerous. People make laws, people make rules, rules don't make people. That's how backwards this thing has been moving. That stuff can be signed overnight. They can make a declaration. I have lived, and you all have lived 3 times within these United States. I've seen the economy threatened. Wake up, chilling in the morning, then go off. We may just have to shut down the United States economy. The federal government might have to shut down. The federal government might have to shut down. How many times have you heard that?
A lot of times.
A lot of times. Don't you get tired of hearing that? That's called shock testing. That's called fear and shock testing. When they know they need something to change in the society quick and to grab more strength from the people, they create fear. How many times you gonna tell me you gonna have to shut down? Won't you just shut down? What's wrong? Because if you get my point, it's a basis of fear. It is not organic. If anything was to happen in the United States tonight with the citizens of this country, when it comes to the survival of this country will die. And I'm not scared to say it. It will. To walk a mile, someone will say, yeah, we're gonna walk from Logan to West Philly. Some cats sit there and say, man, I ain't walking that shit. Right? Why? Why? You that lazy? You really don't know your environment, do you? If I ask you to walk from one side of your city to the next side of your city, are you prepared to do it? You say, no, I can't do it. Why? If we was to ask you right now to have to build an emergency hospital for yourself, to deliver some children, right? Our children, your children, what would you do? The hospital ain't open, so we're going to wait for the hospital to open, right? Okay. You see my point? If you get back to your organic ways of living and seeing, begin to incorporate them slowly, you'll begin to have more power. And then the environment you live in, the nation you live in, the family that you live with, all levels. The family is not just the people you were born with. Family is much bigger than that. When that happens, while you're doing it, you'll be creating more autonomy. Then you'll have less intrusion in your life. You expect a stranger to protect you. Okay, cool. Somebody don't care nothing about you, don't like how you look, don't believe in what you believe in, would like to see that going too. Right? Again, this is not an attack at people. This is just reality. Is America prepared to survive? Now, the real Africans, y'all know who y'all are. We ain't going nowhere. The real Nubians, the Moors, the indigenous, we're not going anywhere. But for people who are living in an artificial self, when the artificial world drops, you drop with it. Don't drop with the artificial world. Get back to your natural self. No one can give that to you. Nature gave it to you. The universe gave it to you. Alright? Which gets to the second point. We call that social, you write it down. Social, organizational, cap. And I'll put over top of it wealth. And I don't just want to, when you say the word capital, that always says money to people. And I want to get us out of the syndrome. I'm not saying don't spend money. Please spend money. Yes. We're still here and we operate in it. I want you to start thinking of alternative ideas to economy. The alternative economic structure. There's more than one way to get wealth. More than one way to build up capital. Because the rest of the world is shifting to a sustainable economy. Well, you don't know? Everybody else is internalizing their economy more. Soon, populations of cities will be brought to a number of 50,000 people. Did you hear me? You can check me on it. Populations of cities will be constructed and constrained to 50,000 inhabitants. That means what's going to start happening is the territory, the environment that people live in, they're going to start to construct it so that it's all internal trade going on all the time. You hear me? That's what all the gentrification is about also. So we get closer back to center city. Now I don't have to drive into work, so that means I ain't got to use no what?
Gas.
And then I can start living and start driving in a what?
Electric car.
Someone don't talk so low. You can start driving in a what?
Electric car.
I thought so. It's all an environment. So don't wait for a change. Peace, Papa. Peace, sister. We don't wait for that to happen. Let's be the change what? Behind it. Let's be ahead. Social organizational capital. All right. It's gatherings, celebrations, industries, organizations. You deal with gatherings. When people come together, they generate spiritual energy. When we come together, we all begin to generate energy with each other. Correct? When we start sharing ideas and swapping ideas, and then we come to a consensus on something that can be produced, that we can benefit from and help each other with, that is what we consider to be social organizational wealth.
Right off the Barnary sub-stop, Philadelphia, PA. Shot so loud you would think it was a club spot. African Americans, although we all over the web, we the hood librarians. We ship to prisons too. We reach out and deliver to those that's bitten too. But it's more than a bookstore. You want it, we got it. Mixtapes, DVDs, and culture products. Black and Nobel got our hands in a lot of projects. We welcome all to come build. The energy is positive. And remember, other teams is awake and conscious. Come through and experience this place of knowledge. They say they'll put it in a book if they wanna hide it from us. But we got them books so you can buy it from us. Something to read while you on a train or riding the bus. Get your read on, food for thought, get your eat on. Black and Nobel, I buy my books at Black and Nobel. Black and Nobel, I buy my books at Black and Nobel. Black and Nobel, I buy my books at Black and Nobel.